Do you have a friend who posts a 100-person birthday party on Instagram, or someone who shows up with a different crowd every weekend? And have you ever asked yourself, why do I only have 2 or 3 close friends? Is that even normal? Maybe someone once said to you, why do you only hang out with so few people? Wouldn't it be better for you to meet more? And that comment stuck with you for a while. Here's the answer. Yes, it's completely normal. In fact, for some people, it's not a shortcoming at all. It's a deliberate choice. In this video, we're going to explain why some people prefer small, deep bonds over large friend circles. And you'll see that this isn't poor social skills. It's actually a more intense version of connection. Society tends to treat friendship like a numbers game. The more friends you have, the more liked or successful you're assumed to be. Social media only reinforces this. Follower counts, tagged photos, crowded celebrations, group pictures where everyone's smiling. It creates this atmosphere where a person's worth seems to be measured by how many people surround them. But for some people, friendship works on a completely different logic. What matters to them isn't how many people they know, but how many people they can genuinely connect with. Instead of a group of 10 surface-level friends, they'd rather build a deep, long-lasting bond with 2 or 3 people. For these people, a friendship isn't measured by how often you see each other, but by how real it actually is. This preference often gets misread by others. They hear things like, "Why do you have so few friends? You should open up more. You seem hesitant to meet new people." But the issue isn't shyness or a lack of social skill. It's a conscious or sometimes instinctive choice about where to invest their energy. So what's actually behind this preference? Researchers say it partly comes down to how social information gets processed. Maintaining a large friend group requires constant social upkeep. Who did what, who talked to whom and when, what state each relationship is in, whose birthday is coming up, who might be feeling neglected lately. It's like a management system running constantly in the background where every connection becomes a small task demanding attention. Some people's brains find managing multiple relationships less exhausting. They can keep many connections fresh at once, even if those connections stay surface level, and this actually energizes them. For others, every relationship works more like its own separate project that requires focus and cognitive resources. For these people, maintaining 5 surface-level relationships is far more exhausting than maintaining 2 deep ones because every new connection means starting from scratch and rebuilding trust all over again. On top of that, research on emotional closeness reveals something interesting. Our capacity for deep bonds is limited. The number of people someone can genuinely trust, the people they could call at midnight in a crisis, averages around 3 to 5 according to research. This is known as Dunbar's inner circle. Rather than spending excessive energy trying to expand beyond that circle, some people choose to invest deeply within it instead, deepening inward rather than expanding outward. This isn't a flaw, it's a conscious or sometimes intuitive strategy for where to direct your resources. Building a few deep-rooted connections instead of a wide network. It's like choosing a tree with deep, sturdy roots over one that's wide but shallow. Both stand, just with a different kind of balance. So, what does this look like in everyday life? Picture this, you've just moved to a new city. Some people immediately try to build a wide social circle, attending events, meeting lots of new people, quickly forming a whole friend network, and this process energizes them. Other people do the opposite. They meet people slowly, one at a time, gradually build a deepening bond with just a few, and stop there. They don't feel the need for more. From the outside, this second group sometimes gets read as struggling to socialize or not pushing themselves enough. But in reality, they've already found exactly what they were looking for: a few trustworthy, meaningful relationships. For them, it's not a list of 30 acquaintances that matters, but one deep bond with 3 people that enriches their life. That's not an incomplete social life. It's a complete one. The same thing shows up at social gatherings. At a big get-together, someone with a wide circle gains energy by going around the table talking to everyone, and every new conversation adds something for them. Someone with a small circle, on the other hand, usually settles into a long conversation with one or two people in a corner and doesn't get much out of the rest of the event because they've already found the connection they were looking for with those two people, and the rest of the crowd is just background noise to them. The same pattern shows up at work too. Instead of being the person who gets along with everyone and values networking, someone who builds a genuinely trust-based relationship with just a few colleagues might be less visible within the team, but usually has a much deeper network of trust. There are one or two people they could actually turn to in a crisis, and that's often worth far more than a wide but shallow network of acquaintances. I used to see this as a problem myself for a long time. In college, it seemed like everyone else had these huge friend groups, while I only had 2 close friends, and that felt like something was missing, like I was doing something wrong. I kept trying to meet more people, joined groups, went to events, but none of it ever replaced those 2 friendships. In fact, trying so hard to meet new people often left me even more exhausted and unsatisfied. Over time, I realized it was never about the number of friends. It was about how real the bonds I already had were. Those 2 friendships meant far more to me than 30 surface-level acquaintances ever could. Society tends to frame this as a social shortcoming. Messages like, you should meet more people, you should widen your circle, you should put yourself out there more, create the impression that expanding is the only correct approach. But a small friend circle isn't the result of a lack of skill. It's a deliberate approach that favors a small number of deep connections over many surface-level ones. Just as some people dabble in many hobbies while others prefer to master and go deep into just one, the same kind of preference shows up in relationships too, depth over breadth. This misconception creates real pressure, especially during youth and in the social media era. Being popular, having a wide circle, showing up at every event get presented as markers of success. But research actually shows that the quality of relationships is a far stronger predictor of happiness and long-term well-being than the quantity. Someone with hundreds of acquaintances but no one they can truly trust can end up feeling far lonelier than someone with just 3 close friends. The real question here isn't, how do I make more friends? It's, how do I deepen the bonds I already have? Because a small circle isn't a gap that needs filling. It's already a full space. So how do you make peace with this preference? The first step is accepting your own relational capacity. Not everyone has an unlimited capacity for deep bonds, and that's not a flaw. Just as not everyone can run at the same speed, not everyone can sustain the same number of deep relationships either. The second step is prioritizing quality despite social pressure. Instead of feeling obligated to meet someone new, spending time on the bonds you already have leads to a far more fulfilling social life in the long run. Spending a weekend on 10 different shallow hangouts is often far less nourishing than setting aside time for one deep conversation with 2 close friends. Third, explain your small circle to the people around you, saying, I prefer investing my energy into a small number of deep bonds, instead of letting people assume I don't care about you or I don't want to get closer to you. Brings clarity both for you and for your relationships. Finally, it's worth knowing you don't have to completely avoid crowded settings. You can go to a big event, meet lots of people, and have a genuinely good time. But not every one of those encounters needs to turn into a deep friendship. That's not a failure. It's a deliberate choice. The freedom to choose who you go deep with instead of trying to go deep with everyone. So the next time you find yourself wondering, why do I have so few friends? Or someone asks you that question, don't see it as a flaw in yourself. A small number of deep bonds can build a far stronger foundation than a large number of surface-level acquaintances. Knowing how you build friendship isn't about limiting it. It's about respecting it. And that respect is exactly what makes the few bonds you do have so much more valuable. Because what they lack in number, they make up for in depth without limit.